Maxed Out Man, helping you become the man you were made to be.
Hey guys, it's Kevin Davis. This is the Maxed Out Man podcast. This is episode number 8, which is kind of crazy. We already hit 8, which is good. This is my good buddy, Marty Hopes, and we've been friends for a long time and considering him a very close friend. And we're just going to sit and talk a little bit. So welcome.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. I want to, first of all, just kind of get your story a little bit. Who you are, what you do. The idea is we're going to inspire some people, and I think you have a great story to be able to do that. So
it's a story, all right.
Yeah.
I'm the youngest of 5. I'm a Montana native. The things about me that's kind of cool is, well, not really cool. It's just, I lived with hardships, and we learned to adapt over the years. I mean, my father died when I was 12 years old. But fortunately, my mom has met some really cool men in her lifetime, but unfortunately, they've all died. Yeah, she's a black widow. I'm not, Mom, I hope you don't. I didn't say that out loud, but literally, she's had 4 husbands and they've all died of heart attacks. Not saying.
Maybe she's just a really good cook.
I'm just saying the last one I offered to buy him a treadmill. That's all I'm saying. No, love you, Jim. I wish you were still here. But they were all good men. I mean, and they were all inspiring in different ways. They may not have been my father, but they taught me work ethics. They taught me, your word is everything. That's all you got in this life.
Yeah.
And love your mom. I mean, that was the main focus is work hard. Don't stop until the job's done, and love your mom. It's not that hard, but I failed as a kid and failed as a man, but yeah, born and raised Hardin, Montana. Joined the military when I was 17, during split deployment. Went between my junior and senior year because my brother actually caught me at a party. I was drunk off my ass and he said, "You're going to be a worthless piece of, and the next day he got mom to get me to sign up.
Wow. And what is split deployment?
That's so I went to basic training between my junior and senior year.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, I went to boot camp and then came back and finished my senior year of high school.
Do they still do that?
I don't think so.
They probably should. I know they're having a hard time getting soldiers.
Hell, they might even take me back. But, yeah, no, it was a good experience. The way I looked at my senior year in high school was totally different. Because I felt so much more grown up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was like, what are you going to teach me now? I mean, I was just shooting machine guns 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And throwing live grenades and teaching trauma or learning trauma. I mean, what is earth science going to teach me now? I mean, that's the way I looked at it. I couldn't wait to graduate and move on with my life. And we did that, and I had a great career, and I do it all over again.
Mm-hmm.
No matter, there's a lot of stuff that's negative in it. But I'll bring that back around when we talk about the Irreverent Warriors.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I had a great career. I've lived and loved, unfortunately, and that means several divorces, but that comes with being a veteran, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have at least 2 under your belt, you're still a private. And I got more than that. But so once again, I stayed in Montana once I got back. The kind of cool thing is I changed so many careers. I mean, I've had the gamut of careers. I was the youngest building inspector in the state of Montana, licensed.
Yeah. So this would have been after your military career.
Yeah. After my military career, I was the youngest building inspector in the state of Montana. And I hated it.
Wow.
Because I needed more. I mean, it was boring to me.
Yeah.
Because honestly, the people that I was going inspecting their work, they knew more about contracting than I'll ever learn.
Yeah.
And so I was the guy's like, it's your reputation, man. Just make sure it's right. Yeah, I'll sign off it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that almost got us into one lawsuit for the city. But other than that, it's no big deal. But
so this would have been in Billings?
Hardin, actually.
Hardin?
Yeah. Believe it or not, there was only 6 building inspectors in the state of Montana, and Hardin had one of them.
That's crazy. Yeah, because Montana, by and large, are not like we built this whole house.
Yeah,
building that big shop, and there's we have DEQ and electrical.
Yeah,
and that's it.
That's it.
We can build. So Montana is not known for anybody that's listening that's from California or Florida or whatever.
We don't have anything that's hurricane or structure proof for that.
Yeah.
We may stop a fire
as long as the snow load is good, right? That's the roof.
Exactly. Other than that, we're pretty good. But I left that to go sell cars.
Mm.
Because I was too young for that type of responsibilities.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it. So I went and sold cars for 13 years. I had every position in the dealership, and I just got burnt out. I mean, after 13 years of just pounding on people and having people pound on you back, I was just done. And then I went to work for Mars and Billings with Devin Davis, and worked for him for 2 years and said, I like this. I want to own one. And here we are.
And Mars at that time, which you guys don't really use this now, but it was mobile appearance
reconditioning service.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. People still ask us, so we tell them, but other than that, no.
I mean, you still have the periods.
So
maybe it's time to get rid of that.
I know, right? I know.
Because people are going to go, what does that stand for?
I know.
Yeah.
We're the only ones in the group still have the periods.
Really?
Yeah. Everyone else changed. And it's like I branded this way 10 years ago.
Yeah. Because they do. I mean, they still do the same services.
Oh, yeah.
PPF and vinyl and detailing and paint correction. And
vinyl repair, leather repair, cigarette burns, headlight restoration, scratch removal, windshield chips. Yeah, we still do all of it.
Pretty much all of it.
The recon.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a great thing. And then 6 years into it, I get this call from this guy wanting to know if I can detail aircraft because my name was thrown out by somebody. I don't know who.
It may have been me.
More than likely it was you. I'm sure it was. And started a second company out of it.
Yeah, I don't know whether that's something you want to thank me for or kick me in the balls for. Some days probably a little bit of both.
Yeah, last night I was, me and my wife was cleaning vomit out of a cockpit at night.
Cockpit?
Yeah, the pilot got sick.
Oh.
Yeah, we're 5.5 hours in that job and we're still not done.
That's nuts. So, backstory: I used to own I used to do detailing here in town, and so I had done some airplanes or whatever. And I pretty much closed my shop, and then I just. and it's not like I handed a business to you, but yeah, it was.
You gave me most of my retail customers in the beginning.
I gave you a few, so that was good. But, airplane detailing, and you're talking about private jets, basically. Because we get a lot of people that land here and go to Big Sky or Bozeman.
Yeah, everything we do is, if, I don't know, people here listening understand the different styles of jets, but we do anything from an 8-passenger jet up to a 22-passenger jet. $3 million to $70 million.
That's a lot of money for a plane.
Oh, it is. I mean, literally last night, the one we were on was a 1-year-old a G600. That's a $70 million aircraft. And when I was talking with the pilot, he goes, yeah, we're only going to have this one a couple more months. And I go, really? Why is that? And he goes, well, the owner truly wanted an 800, but they were so far out, so he settled for the 600. Now his 800's ready, so he's going to dump this one.
And they just quote unquote traded in. Right?
Yeah, pretty much. Or they broker and sell it real quick.
Yeah. Now, what makes it? I've always wondered this. You know these planes pretty well. What makes it a $70 to $80 million aircraft?
Size. The one that's really cool that I didn't even understand until I had a pilot tell me about it is cabin pressure.
Really?
Yeah, believe it or not. So the average commercial aircraft, that's why you have so much jet lag, there's about 9,000 pounds of pressure on you.
Wow.
You didn't know that, but you do. And like this one here, he's going to have right around 1,100 pounds of pressure on him. So he's going to feel nothing when he lands that plane after being in it for 8-9 hours.
And is that a HVAC kind of system? How did that?
Honestly, I have no idea how the cabin pressure works, and then it's amenities.
Yeah,
it's just truly amenities and size, and like this one truly
speed
and speed. Oh yeah, they're almost hitting Mach speeds now.
Really?
Yeah, they're at 9.1.
Yeah, that's fast.
Yeah, and altitude flying 57,000. So yeah, it's incredible.
I was talking to a friend of mine that does. Actually, it was a friend whose dad is a nationally recognized performer, and he flies. He has his own jet.
Oh yeah,
and he flies all over the place. And I'm like, how do you justify the expense? He's like, well, by the amount of time I would have to spend going into doing commercial aircraft and all that kind of stuff. It just makes it easier. I don't have to deal with TSA and
100%.
All of that.
Well, if they still fly international, they still have to deal with
customs and
stuff. Yeah, they still have to deal with that. But it's quicker. They just land and customs walk on and walk off.
Yeah.
They don't have to stand any lines. They fly when they want. They don't have to worry about changing the ticket. It's like, let's fly at 3:30 because we were going to fly at 7. No, let's leave.
Yeah, they just have to change the flight plan with the ATC or FAA, I guess is how that works. Yeah. It's crazy. And that doesn't even, for yachts, they say that it's 10% per year of whatever the yacht costs for their operating costs. Or I don't know if planes have
it's actually a lot higher for planes. It's almost like 25%.
So if you got a $100 million aircraft, you're spending $25 million a year just because I know even for gas on a small plane, it's like $100,000.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Right. So,
and the thing is with it, because you gotta realize you have it's like the maintenance is like a ticking clock.
Yeah.
Cleaning. I mean that is actually regulated through like Gulfstream or Boeing. You have to have your aircraft cleaned. And a lot of people, it's for one, it's maintaining the paint, but it's also, if I clean that plane and it's streak free and they land somewhere and they see hydraulic streaks somewhere, they're like, hey, maybe we got an issue somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if it's all dirty underneath and all that, they may not be able to identify
100%
the issues.
Yeah. And it's here in Bozeman. I mean, you live close. I mean, our air traffic is just getting more and more.
Yeah.
And our business is growing. I mean, it's growing by 35% every year. Over the past 4 years.
Yeah, I think they're didn't they hit the 2 million passenger mark?
Yeah.
And this is a tiny, Gallatin Valley has 65,000 people in it.
Yep.
And so for us to have the busiest airport in the state is, we're a small state. We don't have a ton of people.
Yeah, but the other thing about it is, I mean, in one room, you could throw a boomerang and hit 6 billionaires.
That's crazy.
Before it ever comes back. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And when the clientele I work with are not just they're all billionaires.
Yeah. And
that's the cool part about it. I don't work on the tarmac hardly anymore. We're all in some of the most beautiful hangars, 20,000 square foot hangars, completely white painted floors, white walls. I mean, the big ass fans in them. So it's all climate controlled. So yeah, my job is easy.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of square footage.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's just growing every year from that. And I do want to thank you because I would have never got into it if someone had threw my name out and I would have took that call. But here's the thing with it, like your program, we're trying to inspire. Don't be scared to say yes.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, when Drew called me, he goes, "Hey, Marty, can you clean aircraft?" I'm like, "Sure."
I never cleaned one before.
No. And I got out there and I said, "Hey, Drew, I'll be honest with you, dude. I don't know shit thing about aircraft.
Yeah.
But just tell me what I'm not supposed to do, and we'll be fine."
Which I had that same experience with those because there's you don't realize, especially if you come from cars, when we're polishing and cleaning and, they have those little trainers that they use that have those Lexan cockpits. Well, you have to be extremely careful because you can't correct the scratches.
No.
So he walked me through that. There's sensors on these little planes.
Oh, yes.
On the big planes, there's way more sensors.
Well, the thing is you don't have, the biggest thing you have to worry about are static ports.
Oh, right. Yeah.
One, you don't want water inside it. And two, you don't want to create a lot of static because then that'll cause electrical issues. And electrical issues when you're flying, 30,000 feet in the air is a bad thing.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if you scratch paint on a hood, that's one thing. If you run a sensor that crashes a plane, that's bad.
My two biggest fears when I'm working on an aircraft is the leading edges and the windscreens.
Yeah. Because
a windscreen in a Gulfstream 500, that's $700,000 for that one chunk of glass. I screw that up. My career's done.
Yeah.
On my insurance, I mean, they'll cover it, but then I'm done. Or the leading edges. I mean, one piece of that alloy on there could be $25,000, $30,000. And one ding in that, they're going to want it replaced.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yes. It's fun, man. But it's a challenge, and I accept it, and I embrace it. And I'm thankful every day that, I have this opportunity.
Yeah. Because that's more than half. Last time I talked to you, it was about half of your revenue.
Yeah.
Now it's probably
It's getting there.
much
It's
better.
actually this year. I met with my accountant. We officially split the two companies.
Oh, right. Because you run full-time. He's got a full-time detailing shop
Yep.
also.
Yep. So, and Chris is actually a 10% owner now of that.
Great.
And in the next 4 years, he'll be 100% owner.
And you'll be retired.
No, I'll have the aviation. Because if not, he's gonna dump it. He doesn't want it. He hates it. He won't even get badged to go on the airplane.
So just explain who Chris is.
Chris is my son. He's my oldest son. He's 32 years old. Actually certified diesel mechanic, and he worked for a good company there in Billings. And 9 years ago, come April 1st, he made the jump. Switch careers and said, "I want to come to work for you, Dad." And he was at that time, we did a lot of painting. I think so. At that time, we did a lot of painting, and I don't know if you know this about Chris, but he's color deficient.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, but we found out that people with color deficiencies are better painters than people with natural vision.
Because the paint matching?
Yep, because they see tones,
right.
Not reflections.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Chris had to do we have this Jeep that we built, and these guys were huge supporters of Michelle, my wife, whenever she did these rallies. But we had beadlocks, and they were powder coated, and they looked terrible because they didn't
remember.
match. And we had so Chris actually matched the beadlocks to the wrap, to the color of the wrap, and it was a perfect match.
Yeah, it looked good.
Yeah,
It
he
looked
did a good job.
But yeah, no, and then he's just been running the shop for the past, 6 years.
Yeah,
and he's literally growing the business in places that I would have never taken it, because I had closed in a mindset of what I wanted my business to be. And Chris is looking at it like walking into this room.
Yeah.
He's like, well, there's so much potential. And he's kind of a numbers guy, which I'm not really a numbers guy.
Yeah.
I don't know how bookkeeping goes. You got to have this number match that one and that one match that one. They all look good at the end of the day. I just feel you just keep working and pay checks come in and you're good.
Yeah.
But he's learned that some jobs that we used to do, the margin wasn't good enough. So he's like, let's get rid of it, Dad. We're wasting our time and money. And that's why we went into the paint protection film and coatings.
Yeah.
And that's
high margin.
High margins.
Yeah.
High margins. And we went from just the small 24-inch kits to full wraps now. We just did a 2022, still new, but the guy just took delivery of it, of a Ford Platinum.
Nice.
Full wrap.
Yeah.
Full wrap. Yep.
I need to bring this Grand Cherokee in and have him do the fronts on that.
Yeah, before you drive it too much.
Yeah. Tell me about. So one of the things we try to talk a lot about is while we're talking about Chris is, and he's in his early 30s. So he's what is it like to raise boys, and what's it like working with Chris? Challenges.
Let me tell you. There is challenges because he is me. That's the things I dislike about my son are the things I dislike about myself, to be honest with you. But raising that kid was one of the easiest things I've ever done. All he wanted to do was please his father. From a young age, if I didn't like what he was doing, I'd look at him and he'd correct his attitude. Now my daughter, she'd be looking at what? Why are you staring at me like that?
She's like, you should correct your attitude.
Oh, exactly. No, I'm not kidding. We've had this conversation. And one time I was like, she's like, why are you looking at me like that? I said, well, I don't like your attitude. She goes, well, I don't like yours. And I didn't know what to do after that. I was stuck.
Yeah.
I was stuck. But my son, he was always the one that just was like, I want to do what Dad wants. And when he was in high school, when I went to his graduation, he ended up with a 3.7 for his GPA. And I was surprised. That was far better than I ever got. And I said, so what did you ever tell me? And he goes, you just told me to get good grades, Dad. And I had to have good grades to play football. It was that simple. Kid never got in any trouble. There's some things I probably don't know about, but legally he never got in any trouble. So I went to college, no issues. Joined it. The kid's been working since he's been 12 years old. Irrigating with farmers and working with his grandpa on his farm. So he's always had a great work ethic. But I also molded him the direction I wanted him to go. And the only thing that I was wrong on, I really thought he'd join the military. And that wasn't his career.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it now. Looking at today's world, what he had been in, I'm glad he did. You know, I mean, it's the stuff that I went through in my life would be nothing compared to what he had to.
Yeah.
And he is, God, Chris, I know you're going to listen to this, but he's such a gentle soul.
I love Chris. Yeah.
And I don't want to see him scarred.
Yeah.
With life.
Yeah.
You know, and traumas of life that would change the person who he is, because he is truly a loving, passionate person. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, if you're in the military a long time, you do some stuff that's just going to change your life.
Yeah.
And that's, thankfully, he's 30 some years old and he's still the same as he was when he was 14.
Nice.
Yeah.
Tell me what that means when you say that you molded him.
Oh, man.
I think so many men now, and I've talked to a lot of my guests and friends and all that about what a difficult time it is. And obviously Chris is about, 10, 12 years out from this, but these young boys that are trying to become men, I think they're probably afraid to do so because the world tells them men are bad.
Yeah,
that you can't be man. You know, even using the word manhood or masculinity or any of that is terrible. So tell me what that means when you say you molded him.
So from when he was, it started when he was a baby. Literally, I would hold him. Sorry, Chris, I'm going to embarrass the shit out of you. I'd have him stand on my lap, and I'd hold his arms up in the air, and I'd go, Christopher the Great, the greatest ever was, greatest ever will be. And I'd have him repeat it back to him.
Yeah.
So to show that he had value. Started when he could hardly talk. I wanted to know that he had value. Mm-hmm. And then I taught him values that my dad taught me. One, you always look a man in the eyes. You always shake his hand, and don't fuck with his cat. Or his hat.
His hat.
Yeah.
Or his cat.
Yeah, don't go with his cat. And if he's a cat lover like I became over the last year, that could be trouble. You know? And just do what you're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. Don't lie to someone.
Yeah.
You know? And because I always told him, I said, if you lie to me and I find out different, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. You can still be in trouble in life. I may get over it. But if you lie to me, that's a different story.
Yeah.
And literally, I was just there. You got to be present. Mm-hmm. You know, I was at every football game. I take it back. I don't want to lie. I missed 2 in between his 6th grade year and his senior year. But once he hit high school, I never missed another one. Those were just his little guy football.
Yeah.
But I was always there. I was that dad that stood outside the locker room when he got out, you know, and shook all the kids' hand, told them how well he did. If I felt he missed a play, it wasn't for me to tell him. That's his coach. Mm-hmm. I was there to tell him that he did a hell of a job. And he represented, now that's the other thing, represent the name that he has, you know, because that's all you have. I mean, and so I was just present in his life. I gave him direction on what to do. And actually, a lot of it, I was never good as a father explaining what I did, right? Or why I was doing. My response was, because you know how kids are, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm like, watch and see.
Yeah.
Watch and see exactly what I'm doing, and you'll see the outcome. Mm-hmm. And then I'll explain later. I'm just not a great explaining how to tear something apart or do it, why I'm doing it this way. And he was just so in tune with that. And literally, I mean, he was the easiest child ever to raise. And like I said, he went to college, started his own life, and wanted to come to work for us and just built a better business for us. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes customers would rather deal with him than me. Well, I mean, if you call our shop, he has 2 dedicated lines. I have 1. Yeah. that just tells you right there. Yeah. You know, he set it up that way too.
So how did you balance, you know, we talk to these young parents, we do some marriage ministry and we talk to these young parents now, and there's kind of this new trend. So if your kid is screwing up, like, I don't know, maybe you catch them freaking painting your walls or whatever, or kicking your cat or whatever. So the new trend now is this thing where you sit them down, you talk about how they feel, and I'm being a little sarcastic, but you talk about their feelings, you talk about how they felt about kicking the cat and why they did it. And there's very little correction in that.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to know between your
Oh,
Chris
you'll
is
love
the
this.
greatest versus
Oh, you'll love this.
discipline.
You'll love
you know?
this. He had this bad habit of slamming his door.
Oh yeah.
Running into his room, slamming his door. He was a little guy. He stopped. I believe he really stopped when he was probably 7, right? Because his sister was 2, and I told him, "You slam your door again, I'm just take the door off the hinges."
Mm-hmm.
And so he did it. So I just went in, took the door off, put it downstairs in the basement, and he's like, "But Dad, Ellie's gonna see me in my underwear." I said, "You should have thought of that before you slammed the door."
Yeah.
That's just how it went. Or if he was doing things, I said, "You keep that up, I'm just going to take all your toys, right?" And he didn't believe me until I did.
Yeah.
Took him away for 30 days. I didn't tell him how did that make you feel. I'm like, no, I'm your dad. I'm not going to be your best friend. That's not my job. My job is to mold you into the best person I can make you. And that's just what I did. But you know what? Faith had a big part of it.
Yeah.
Chris accepted Jesus Christ in his life when he was, oh my God. We both got baptized at the same time.
Oh, really cool.
Yeah, in 1998, we both got baptized. So he was 8 years old.
Wow.
And so I believe that God had already put a small hedge of protection around him.
Mm-hmm.
But I also believe what the Bible says that, you lead him in the right way, God's going to do the rest.
Right.
And so I just did what little knowledge part I had. What I believed in was right from what the book told me. Don't spare the rod, and because I never truly had disbelief. I just had to look at him and tell him I was disappointed.
Yeah.
And he corrected himself, or the Holy Spirit inside him corrected him. That's how I believe. And that's the way he is today. And he's not a big churchgoer or anything like that, but you know what? I know he believes in God, and he still asks me questions about it. And if we're having a bad month, and he goes, "How are we going to get through it?" And I don't know, but God's going to get us through, just like he has every other month.
Yeah.
And it's always that last minute.
Yeah.
That last check that came in, you're like, "Oh, wow, I was saved today." It wasn't us.
Yeah.
Praise God for it.
Yeah. That's cool. So yeah, it's this balance between
faith and firm.
Faith. Yep. For sure. Yeah. And with the kids, they need the discipline and consequences and all that. I think that it seems like that they talk about, back in the 40s and 50s, there was probably an imbalance on that continuum where, the kids should be seen and not heard, or actually not seen and not heard.
We heard exactly.
And,
if you were,
and then getting to now when it's, it's funny because they talk about self-esteem and all that stuff. Yeah. We're the most egotistical society on the planet. We literally have a website that is about our face.
Yeah.
I mean, Facebook is like all about us.
I never thought about that.
All about us all the time. And so that's an interesting. So if you're a father of, kids, young kids, or even teenagers, I think it's a good balance between making sure that they know that you're their biggest supporter.
Yep.
But helping them understand consequences. Integrity is a big one.
100%.
Because now, I mean, that the whole social media thing is about, putting your best face forward, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a marketing.
Yeah.
And I'm a marketer, so it's a marketing ploy, right? Because we never, we edit that photo and all that. So there's a certain level of falsehood with everything we do now.
I mean, the difference between how my father raised me and then how I raised my son was one, my father believed in physical violence. Mm-hmm. He had this scenario in our life that, thank God he's dead. Family service would probably show up in his coffin. But literally when you were 10, right, that was the threshold when it was time to start fighting in the living room.
Wow.
Match brother against brother. And I remember when I hit 10, I was excited because I got to watch it, right? And so he paired me up with my brother Steve, which was 15.
Wow.
Yeah. I was all excited until I got hit. And then I didn't want it no more.
And it was full speed?
Yeah. Yeah, there was no plan. The only time we stopped is if someone got pissed or there was blood drawn.
Mm.
Other than that, and sometimes it was 2-on-1, depending on what Dad's mood was. And people get a freak out when I tell them this. Before my dad died, I was probably in at least 95 fist fights in our living room.
That's a lot.
Because Dad, this is what he'd tell my mom when she'd get upset. He goes, I don't raise pussies.
Yeah.
You know? And I realized that I wasn't going to raise a pussy either, but it wasn't going to be with violence.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to punch someone in the face to prove your manhood.
Right.
You know, and that's the difference how the two.
But in his mind, I'm sure he believed that, and you know, we all have different battles, right?
Oh, yeah.
He just believed that physical battles were the best way to teach you toughness.
Exactly,
right?
and he was raised.
And there was a sadistic component, probably.
Yeah.
He just liked to see you guys beat the shit out of each other.
But he was raised hard.
Yeah.
His father died when he was 4. And in the Hopes family back then, when you hit the age of 8, this is crazy. You know, I mean, some people are like, no way, that didn't happen. It's true. All the boys from 8 to, I think, 16 was the oldest still at the home, they'd hop a freight train and go down south and start farming. And Ma Hopes would say, don't spend a dime. We need that for the winter. And those boys would gather whatever money they could and make it back home during the fall.
And you have Native American background, right?
Yeah, from Canada.
Oh, so no reservation or anything like that, right? Okay.
No, my grandfather was part of the Quebec Rebellion back in the day. And when that rebellion was crushed, they either executed you, threw you in prison. My grandfather and his brother said, no, we're out of here.
Yeah.
So they came through South Dakota and worked their way into Montana. And the reason why they stopped here is because my grandfather's middle name was Xavier. Well, they ended up in St. Xavier just outside of Hardin. And he's like, I'm home.
Wow.
So,
and Hardin is on the east side of the state, which if you think about, if you see pictures, if you're not from Montana and you see pictures of Montana, that part of Montana doesn't look like the rest of Montana. It's very plains oriented. It's flat. Yeah. It's hot. Yeah. But it's not the prettiest part.
But they have summer.
They do have summer. We don't. We have plenty of winter, especially this time of year. And that's so. I was curious whether there was a Native American cultural aspect to any of that, or if it was just. I mean, it's just hard work.
Yeah.
And so you took the opportunity with Chris and with, what's your daughter's name?
Allie.
You took the opportunity with those guys to break that cycle
100%.
a little bit, but you didn't make them. And that's kind of the point, right? Like you want to instill similar values because you see the value in that toughness.
Yep.
But the methodology to get you there
exactly
is the change. And I think now one of the problems, and this is not politically correct at all, but I think we have a society of pussies.
100%.
And you can, Trevor Noah has this great bit about, I don't even know why they use the word pussies because it's one of the toughest things on the planet, so that's the wrong word.
Yeah, exactly. It can take a pound.
but that whole idea of being soft, no integrity, no toughness, no resiliency, really egotistical and self-serving. That's a big part of it. And so that's but you just used it. So what methodology did you use?
Oh, man. Honestly, I don't even know if there's.
So if you were to give, so let's say you got a dad now that is raising, 7, 8, 9-year-old boys or girls.
Yeah.
What kind of advice would you give?
Well, I tell them to kick them outside for one.
Yeah.
No matter warm or cold, and don't give them any social media until they're at least 18 because the brain hasn't even formed yet. Yeah. Enough to understand that this shit's fake. Yeah. What you're seeing is not real, and have human connections.
Yeah.
Go get dirty. Take someone apart, break the son of a bitch. Try to figure out, put it back together. If you can't figure out, put it back together, get it something else, get something new.
Yeah. I started doing that when I was like 6 or 7. We used to have these little stompers.
Yep. Oh, I remember.
You remember the stompers? Wheels? If you guys don't know what those are, get on Google. They were the coolest little 4x4 toy.
Had the nice foam wheels.
Yeah, little foam wheels, which you could glue together and make them bigger. The thing I always did was they ran off a 1.5 volt AA, but you could wire them Because it's just a little electric motor, right? 9 volt.
Exactly. If you didn't have the 9 volt, you were the dumb kid on the block.
But I started taking stuff apart, and it still happens to me. I always have parts left over, but it always still works. That's what doesn't make sense.
I asked Chris when he started working on our vehicles at the shop. I'm like, "How'd you know how to put this back there?" He goes, "I didn't." And he goes, "Don't mind that little pile over there. It's still good. It's still good."
Usually, it's full of broken plastic clips that they use to put all this crap together. Right?
Exactly. But that's the thing. Just get them outside, get them involved with neighborhood kids. Go ride a bike.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the thing that it's as a new parent, it'd be kind of scared now to send a kid out on a bike from 9 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock at night. I mean, there are a lot of weirdos out there. Yeah. In our days, there's probably some weirdos out there, but, we just, I don't know, we traveled in packs.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
It wasn't a single kid out there riding his bike and being potentially a victim. Yeah. I mean, there was at least 6 or 7 kids riding around on their bikes together.
Yeah.
All day long.
It's weird now when I drive around town because it shouldn't be this way. Because, by the time I was 7, I literally had no adult supervision at all.
None.
And but now to see a kid out riding his bike by himself or herself, you're like, what is that kid? Where are this kid's parents?
100%. Oh yeah, I see that all the time.
And it's sad that you kind of have to feel that way
because of the society. There's I don't want to use the word creeps, but there's creeps everywhere, man. Yeah, and they're just they want to devour our children. Yeah. I mean, you look at God, I don't want to get on a tangent, but man, this is what they're doing with these kids and trying to change their identities. Yeah. In my family, and I love all my nieces. I truly love them all. But, when I was a kid, we had one cousin that we thought was a little weird. We just called him queer. We didn't call him gay or anything like that. He was queer. Not saying he was. We didn't know, but he just acted that. He just wasn't, like the rest of us. And now, I am not kidding you, this next generation, we have more openly switching transgender, gay. I'm just like, what the hell happened? But
yeah, it's an interesting time where all kids go through identity crises.
Yeah, and
I think the challenge now is that we allow kids. The biggest challenge for me, the biggest thing that I see that's happening is that we're allowing kids to make decisions that they have no business making. We're not going to throw the keys to our brand new car to a 9-year-old, which is potentially life-changing, but we'll let them decide. If you want to decide to be a friggin' unicorn this week, that's fine. You can hop around or whatever, but I'm not going to surgically implant a horn in the middle of your head. No. So that's I think the challenge.
The only identity crisis that I had growing up was either my hair was going to be long and I was going to be on the football team, or it was going to be short and I was going to be on the wrestling team. That was the only confusion I had. Yeah. It was like, which sport do I want to be in? Yeah.
And I feel for kids. I feel for parents because of the pressures that they have, we didn't have raising our kids. My kids are not that much younger than Chris, 6 or 7 years. But we didn't have, I don't know what I'd do trying to raise kids now. It would be extremely difficult because of the pressures and challenges that these kids are seeing, especially young Christian kids that are trying to be conservative or trying to be, quote unquote, what we would call normal. Yeah. They're the weird ones now. Yeah. Which is interesting.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with sending a kid out to a garage with a wrench.
Yeah.
Boy or girl. Yeah. Boy or girl. Yeah. But that doesn't going to turn that girl into a boy. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that. I'm interested to know how you contrast raising a girl. Because I don't have one of each. I have 2 girls.
I'll be honest. I didn't raise my daughter at all. My ex-wife did. I had no clue, man. Here's a funny story. This is how much I caved. Because I didn't know how to do it. I just didn't know how to handle her. And I admitted it. My son, we were in the store one time. He goes, "Hey, Dad, can I get a football?" I said, "What's wrong with the one you got?" "None." "No, you ain't getting one." My daughter goes, "Dad, can I get this doll?" And I look at it and I'm like, "But don't you have one like this?" And she goes, "Not dressed like that." And I'm like, "Okay, what if we just buy you some clothes? Yeah. Dress the other one." She goes, "But what if I lose them?" I went, "Yeah, you're right. Let's buy the doll." I honestly, admit it, I was I wasn't the best dad. I was there for it, but I didn't know how to correct her.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to raise her. And I was like, that's her mom's job. And I don't want to get, gender roles or anything like that. But I looked at it this way. I'll raise the man, and my wife, at that time ex-wife, she can raise the girl. And she did a great job. I mean, hands down, she did a great job. I was at every sporting event that she stayed in for a month, and she was always the kid that got the good grades because she's just naturally gifted. She's never one of those that went out and drank or anything like that I know of. But yeah, her mom did a hell of a job, and I'll give all the credit to the world to her mom.
How do you think that affects her, or maybe you don't know, but how do you think that, because we need dads. Yeah. Girls need dads, right? Oh, yeah. And I'm sure it's not like you were completely absent, but how do you think that I'll just call it methodology, but
yeah, I'll be honest with you. When she turned 18, I thought I lost her. I really did. It was from 18 to 22. I really thought I lost her. She talked to me every once in a while, hardly ever returned a call back. And I'm like, man, I fucked this one up. Yeah. God damn it. I was supposed to be, any man in her life was supposed to be me. Yeah. And I'm like, I fucked up. But I don't know what happened. 22 hit. And next thing, hey, Dad, how you doing? And it's been nonstop conversation since. And
so you've been given an opportunity.
Yeah, to make it better. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And like I said, I wasn't like absent. I just didn't know how to discipline her. Right. I mean, I was always there. I provided for her. I just didn't know how to discipline her. I didn't know what advice to give her, except for this one. This was the best one. That's the only time I was kind of the dad. Oh, sorry.
You're good.
I'm here. I was going on a date. I was working at Billings and Nissan, right? I said, I need to meet this guy. It was her first real official date. And she goes, all right. So she brings this guy in, and I already had this scene set up with all the other salesmen. I wasn't a finance manager, but I was using the finance manager's office. And I said, come on, young man, sit down in this seat right here. And he sits down. I said, let me see your driver's license. He goes, what? I said, let me see your driver's license. I ain't asked him twice. So he hands me his driver's license. I get on the intercom, page the actual finance manager, said, yeah, I need you to run a report on this for me. So he goes to the back office. He blows this thing up a full page, right? Full page. And he brings back about 25 empty pages, right? Puts it in a folder. And I plan to put the driver's license up there so he could see it. And I'm looking through it. And I'm going, oh, wow, you got in trouble for skipping school, huh? And he goes, huh? So I was right here, skip school. How many times you done it? Don't lie to me. I can read it. He's like, 5. I'm like, whoa, you sure? Okay, 6. And I'm just going through this. And then this kid is just freaking out. He's shitting his pants, And I'm like, give him the full speech. And I'm like, this is the first time in my life that I'm giving responsibility to someone else to be with my daughter except for me. And I said, so what time are you bringing her home? He goes, well, I was hoping midnight. I said, no way, 10:30 at the latest. I'd prefer 10. And he goes, okay, yeah. And I said, I got your driver's license, man. I know where you live. I know your mom. I know your aunt and uncles. I got you, dude. Don't fuck up. And literally when he got up, I mean, I thought I saw a little urine right there. I'm not kidding you. But all the salesmen were lined out the door, and they were all sitting there like this, staring at him. It was one date only. The dude was like, no, I ain't doing this shit. I ain't doing this shit.
I'm sure she appreciated it.
And she just laughed because she knew it was all fake. Yeah. She goes, Daddy buckled. He buckled. He ain't the guy I want to be with. He buckled. It was kind of funny that way. But that's truly the only one really time I interacted with her in her dating life. Yeah. Her mom, like I said, did the best. And she turned out to be a great kid. She's got a compassionate heart. She works with disabled adults, and they're in Billings, and she just loves it. And for me, that would be a hard job for me to do. Yeah. But it's her heart, it's her compassion, it's her passion. And I stop and see her every time, and for the hell of it, I'll cash app her some money to go get her nails done because that's her thing. She's got to get her nails done once a week, even though if she can afford it or not. Yeah, it still happens. And then hey, Dad, I need a little help. send it. But I don't do that to make up for anything. I do it because I can.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Well, and I think that's, you kind of represent, and the encouragement is not to give up. I think so many men, I was that way when my daughter was just a brand new baby. It's like, I can friggin' rebuild a motor with my eyes closed, but I have no idea what to do with this kid. So then it's easy to take step back. And I think, to lean into that. And because the thing is, moms at that stage have no idea what they're doing either.
I know.
And so it's coming together and really figuring it out.
And I screwed that up a lot. I remember she's like, you need to take your son with you more. I said, tell him to quit shitting his pants. That's exactly what I said. As soon as he stops shitting his pants, we'll be tied to him.
Yeah.
But that's just the rule. I mean, and I told my son, I said, when you have a grandson or a granddaughter, I'll be there after they stop shitting their pants.
So, I mean, the question is, well, you don't get to go anywhere in a few years when you start back up, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep, that's true.
So I know that so let's switch gears a little bit. I know you're involved in an organization, and you obviously served in the military, deal with some of your own PTSD stuff. You were involved in an organization and pretty much brought it to Montana.
Yes, I did.
Right? Called what?
Irreverent Warriors.
Okay. Explain what that is and what you do, and why you do it. And...
I'll tell you, I met a guy named Andrew, right? Through Team Shine, through Joe. Right, we're out polishing a B-17. No, it was a B-29.
He's a detailer from Texas.
Yep. And voluntary idiot just like me. And one day he started talking to me. He goes, "Hey, what are you doing for your mental health?" I went, He goes, "What do you mean, And I said, just trying to get through it. And he goes, "Why don't you come to Texas and do one of these hikes with me?" And I looked and I said, "I ain't doing that shit, man." I said, "I've been out of the military so long, I don't even identify with the military." Right? I don't even want to be a part of what was the military because I remember the shit that I didn't like.
Yeah.
And I think every vet has that same scenario.
So if you're active in it, then it's active in you kind of a thing?
Exactly. Because you just remember how they beat down the morale in you.
Yeah.
And that's the part you don't want no more.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You need to do this." And I'm like, "No, man." He goes, "No, this is what's going to happen. You're going to fly to Austin. I'll pick you up. You can stay at my house. We're going to go this hike in San Antonio. Or no, Fort Worth." I said, "All right, okay, I'll do it." And he goes, "Oh, by the way, you're going to wear these little Ranger panties. They're silkies."
Yeah.
All right. And I went, "Ain't no fucking way, man."
Which are basically like silk, very short silk boxers, right?
Well, Richard Simmons wore them a lot.
Yeah, there you go.
And we all look like Richard Simmons wearing them now. I mean, we're out of shape, bellies, everything like that. No one's attractive in silkies. I don't care how good you look. And I'm like, "Dude, I ain't doing that." And he goes, "All right, quick question. How many people do you know in Texas?" I go, "Besides you?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "None." He goes, "Wear them."
Yeah.
And I went, "All right, I'll wear them." And so scenario went, I flew there. We went to the event. We stepped off, and he ditched me.
Uh-oh.
And I'm like, what the hell? Because what he wanted me to do was interact with someone besides my safety net, with Andrew. And I'm not kidding you, man. Within 10 minutes of being on this, I said to myself, "I'm home. I'm home. These are my people.
Because these are both active duty and veterans, right?
Yep. 99% of them that are on these hikes are all vets.
Okay.
And I'm like, they talk like me. They walk like me. They stepped on the same dirt as me. They speak the same language as me. I'm home." Now, I didn't realize how much I missed it.
Yeah.
I had no idea. And after that hike, I did, I think, 10 more throughout the United States, anywhere from Florida, Texas, Louisiana. I was everywhere. And I'm like, "Why ain't we doing one in Montana?" And they're like, "No one's raised their hand." I went, "Okay.
Oh, nice.
I'll raise my hand. I'll do it." And it was trial by error because Montana was so off the radar. I mean, IW was not even a culture here. And the IW was growing so fast, we got slipped between the cracks. We didn't even get any official training because they have a full training on how to run your hike, blah, blah, blah. What's the proper procedures? And then you had computer training for all your documentations. We didn't get any of that. We got that 2 months after the hike.
Wow.
And we still were able to pull off a successful hike because one, like my wife says, we both know how to read.
Yeah.
And we understand an SOP.
Yeah.
And we just followed what the SOP said.
Because your wife's a vet too.
Yeah, she has 2 times. Air Force and Army.
Wow.
Yeah, she's got a hell of a career, man.
Nice.
You know what I mean? She was Army intelligence. And after she got out, she actually worked the Border Patrol with Texas Rangers.
Wow.
Yeah, she's
That's
got
cool.
some stories, dude. Cartel heavily. But we ran a hike. We had approximately 70 veterans show up for our very first one. And what we were able to do...
And you did that here? Or did you
right here in Bozeman. Yeah, okay. Right here in Bozeman. And we did a 10-mile ruck with every 25-minute stops. I mean, it's not a...
Yeah.
We're not trying to kill anybody. I mean, we're all old and fat. A lot of them were drinking.
We did that ruck
Yep.
to celebrate the 13.
Yep.
No, yeah, it was on 9/11, but we celebrated the 13 that lost their lives in the Afghan ridiculousness.
Yep.
But we're pretty avid exercisers.
Yeah.
And we weren't, I think I carried like 30 pounds. Like, I'm not doing crazy stuff, but we're like, these guys take a break like every 3 minutes. One of the guys is smoking. And
one guy's ruck was getting lighter because he had 36 cans of beer in it. It was getting lighter.
Same thing with this. Yeah, these guys are also, anyway.
But yeah, no, that's how the event is. I mean, it's just, so the IW believes in, and I always get their motto wrong, man, but we bring humor and camaraderie together to improve mental health. Mm-hmm. And because... And
is it money? Do they raise money? And
it's all volunteer. Okay. It's all volunteer. And like last year, luckily through my connections, because I like to call Bozeman my town, you know, and we were able to raise $11,000 to put on this event last year.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And everything was provided. I mean, food, we had top notch. We had a guy donate. I mean, well, I think what did he cook? 150 racks of ribs.
Wow.
Plus brisket, plus sides. I mean, it was just blown away. But we built a culture after that.
Yeah.
And now we have probably a group out of that 70, probably 10 people at least connecting every week, which they never had.
In person?
In person.
Okay.
Which they never had before.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to our next hike, which is actually July this year. And we're so excited to see how many more people we bring together in their own connections and how much more we can grow. Because, I mean, it's so crazy because we got a group that does snowmobiling. That's their gig, man. They just go out and snowmobile together. We get people that just go out and fish. We got groups like that I'm in with because of my wife. We go on ruck, you know, and talk about crazy. That girl, she's 110 pounds, 105 pounds. She carries average 75 to 80 pounds.
Jeez.
I don't know how she does it, dude. I do 25 pounds.
Yeah.
If
you've never done a ruck before, 20 pounds doesn't sound like much until you're into, 7-8 miles and all. Like and 70 or 80 pounds is a crap ton of weight. That's a lot. She
just does it.
Yeah.
But she's been doing rucking since 2016.
Yeah.
And that's literally how we met. We met at a Texas hike.
Nice.
And we actually dated 3 times and got married. And I say I married the hottest woman ever come out of Texas. And she gets embarrassed when I say that, but I think it's fucking true.
Nice.
And she's 18 years younger than me. And that's another subject we need to get into is the TRT because I couldn't keep up with an 18-year younger woman if it wasn't for TRT, bro. I'm just saying right now.
I'm having a TRT expert come on pretty soon. So,
wow.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I feel like I'm an expert. I know how to give that shot twice a week.
There you go. So I think you covered Irreverent Warriors. I think so. Yeah. I think what most people don't realize, and Montana seems like it would be worse, is that you have that isolation. Because Montana's a very Western, really not a lot of interaction with your fellow neighbors and people and all that. So that isolation, I think, would be worse here.
We brought a vet, I'm going to use his name, Marine guy, right? He literally lived in a trailer outside of Livingston in the middle of a ranch. No running water, no electricity. And wouldn't talk to no one. And literally joining groups, hanging out with guys, life-changing. Just life-changing. Still lives out in the trailer, but, life change.
But he leaves and goes.
Yeah, he leaves and he hangs out with people. I mean, one night he asked me if, he goes, hey, can I spend the night? Because I have to be in Bozeman at 4:00 in the morning. I just don't want to try driving from. I said, yeah, dude, go ahead. He comes in, he goes, this is my safety equipment. You're okay with it? Brings in 2 ARs and a 9. And I'm like, well,
that's some serious safety right there.
I'm like, well, if that makes you comfortable, man.
Yeah.
I said, just let you know, I walk around at nights and sometimes I'm naked.
Yeah.
So just don't shoot me.
Don't shoot anything important.
Yeah, or me. I don't want to be shot. And he goes, nah, as long as you don't come in the room. So trust me, man, I ain't going to.
Yeah.
Plus, because like I said, Jack, I walk around naked. I ain't coming in your room. It's my house.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, that's interesting that and my daughter-in-law is in the Army. So she's a sergeant. She's a drone pilot. But they're deploying to Syria in July. So they're over there to make sure we still have oil.
Yeah.
Basically.
Pretty much.
So she flies reconnaissance drones, not like the Predators and all that. But it's a cool job. But what's interesting is that you guys spend all of your time. One of my regrets is I had actually wished I wanted to do Air Force, but I had by the time I got to be young, 18, 19, I was working, had my own companies and all that. So I just didn't go that route. But I have a huge respect for the military. But it's interesting that your entire military career is built around camaraderie, relationships, lifting each other up. And then after you get out, so many military people are completely isolated, suffering in silence.
Yep.
And it's crazy.
Well, the reason why I feel for me is because I didn't think no one else felt like this.
Yeah.
It was just me. And I sure in the hell wasn't going to tell anybody. Like, dude, I don't feel good.
Yeah. I
don't know why I feel like this, And for me, I'll go into it. I put on that bio some significant dates. Mm. One was October 3rd, 1997, when I accepted Jesus Christ as my personal savior. The other was June 30th, 2017, when everything from my past that I just file away, because we're really good at filing away shit.
Yeah.
It all came to a head. And I look at the surrounding circumstances plus my history is I just went through a divorce. I just had to lay a dog down. My last uncle of the Hopes name just passed away. Mm. Mars had its best month ever. But to get to your best month, what do? You work your ass off. So I was tired, right? And you can look on my Instagram, there's a photo of me and Chris. We're celebrating outside the shop, smoking cigars. Beautiful picture. He went home. I went to Owen House, bought a length of rope, hung it in my banister, and stared at it for 3 days because I was tired. And I come to find out through therapy that I didn't want to die. I just don't want to deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
And literally, like I said, I stared at it for 3 days, trying to figure out if this is what I was going to do. And when I realized that isn't what I wanted to do, I called the Veteran Suicide Hotline and started the progression of healing, talking about my past, not just military, because anybody can have PTSD. I'm afraid for your daughter who's an ambulance driver. Mm-hmm. I'm afraid for her for it.
Yeah, I have a daughter that's a paramedic. And
and she's going to have it.
Yeah.
And because those are things that naturally you're supposed to see.
Right.
And she's the first one on scene, and she's there rushing to it, not running away from it.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the way the military is. To me, that's no different career. Mm-hmm. Hell, you see in Texas 2 years ago, they were getting shot at.
Yeah.
So, that's I fear for. But it just all came to a head, and luckily, God wasn't done with me. Mm-hmm. He said, you got more things to do, and which I didn't realize it was starting this movement.
Right.
Starting this culture of changing other people's lives. And I'm thankful for it. And I'm lucky. I don't have to depend on the VA for my mental health. Mm-hmm. There's so many guys out there and women that try to depend on the VA for their mental health, and all they do is shove them some pills and tell them to walk away.
Yeah.
I can afford a therapist, and I speak to one every week, and I look forward to it. I never dread it because sometimes there's some shit I want to get off my back, or there's sometimes I just want to talk.
Yeah.
You know?
The one thing that came out of the pandemic that's interesting is the telehealth.
Yeah.
And, and I don't know, my daughter's tried like Better Health and some of those.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a lot of that's kind of a joke, but there are ways to find, less expensive.
Yeah. Victoria's not cheap.
They're not, especially here in our town.
But
we live in an area
I don't care.
expensive. Yeah.
I don't care what it costs. And I was also fortunate too, because here was another life-changing thing. And unfortunately, as government goes, lost its funding. I had a doctor reach out to me, actually, Dr. Farrell, right? Bridger Orthopedic at that time. He was an orthopedic surgeon, retired Navy SEAL.
Mm.
And a friend of his started this program called Mind Health, and basically it was magnetic stimulation.
Mm.
And,
I remember you telling me.
Yeah, he believed in it so hard, he brought it here. And we had funding for just a little over a year. But the course was like 10 weeks, and you'd go 5 days a week for an hour. Mm. And basically they'd do a scan, read your brain, find out what was firing, what was not. And then you just place this magnet over your head. And it was just, and I'm not a doctor, man, I'm just screwing this up, but it was just enough electronic shocks to pierce the first layer of skin. Mm. All it was just trying to get your brain to wake up. And when they first did my first scan, as everybody with PTSD, their frontal lobe is completely non-existent. Mm. There's hardly any movement, and mine was no different. And after the 10 weeks, you couldn't tell the difference. My brain was just firing, and I felt different, and I felt good, and I felt emotional and be okay with it, And then after that, you introduced me to TRT, mm-hmm. and I'm telling you, I wish the VA would just quit horsing around and give fucking vets TRT.
Well, I mean, the medical community, and again, this is the disclaimer I give. We're not physicians.
No.
Talk to your doctor and all that. But with testosterone, like, because I was the same way. I was, in the back of my closet crying and all that stuff. And the levels were crazy. With guys at our age, I mean, the medical community as far as testosterone levels is still ridiculous. Yeah. Where they basically say that your low levels are normal. Because we were driving back from Billings when we had that conversation, and I'm like, well, do you feel like this? And is this happening? Is this happening?
And it took me almost a year to join on, because I had that stigmatism, like, oh man, I don't want to take a shot. Why can't I just be manly enough to do it? But I like what Joe Rogan says. He goes, I don't give a shit where you get your testosterone, as long as you have it.
Yeah.
And it's truthful.
Yeah.
I don't care. I tell people all the time, do it. Don't wait.
At least get your numbers checked.
100%. Yeah. And then get it. Because you get the right doc, he's going to give it to you anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, because the numbers don't necessarily. So you need the numbers as a baseline, and then you need a physician that can combine your numbers with your symptoms.
Yep. And when I did mine, I still get mine out of Florida, and I wasn't bad. I guess I was like 430,
which is way higher than mine.
Yeah, at 53 when I did it, and now I think I run around that 980 somewhere around there. I'd like to get over that 1100.
Yeah, I run between 1,000 and 1,100 is kind of my sweet spot.
I'm gonna have to dump more in it, I guess.
Well, that's in my range. I do basically half or 0.5 every 4 days.
Okay,
twice a week.
Yep,
and that keeps me
exactly.
Accountable. And that's pretty much the norm. What most. That 1,900 to 1,000 seems to be what most people. And
I'll tell you, once it got in the system, I felt I had more clarity, because I was having, even with therapy and all that, I had issues sleeping. Mm-hmm. I couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
And I came up with every concoction to sleep, because my brain would never shut down. Yeah. I mean, I was taking up to 120 milligrams of melatonin every night.
Wow.
I was drinking this neural sleep. It had everything like
magnesium.
I think a Thanksgiving dinner would have. Someone told me to eat a banana, so I'd eat a banana with it. Someone said take some pistachios with it. I mean, I had this concoction every night. Oh, and then I'd throw in about 4 or 5, depending on my mood, of Advil PM. Yeah,
your liver was hating life.
Oh yeah, but I would always justify, I'll drink a gallon of water tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'll be fine. And that was the only thing that's getting me to sleep. And since I've been on testosterone, melatonin's down to maybe 10 milligrams every 5 days. You know, I don't take any Advil PM. I don't take any of that other shit because my brain says, you're tired. Go sleep. Because my levels, once again, I'm not a doctor. You're not a doctor, but my levels are right.
Yeah, it's hormone balance. That's the thing. Yeah.
You know, and I'm so much better at it, or a better person than I was before. Yeah, and I recommend it to everybody.
Yeah,
and you're 4 years old.
Yeah, I became a pretty strong evangelist.
Yeah, and no one's giving me a kickback for it. I wish they would because I think I've got a few people on it. I don't know, but I highly believe in it. And this is what I tell people too, especially guys. They're like, "Oh, what's it going to do to your sex drive?" I said, "It's going to increase it." Yeah, and I always tell them, I said, "You need to talk to your wife because she needs to be on board with this too." Yeah, because you're going to think you're 18 again. And she may not want to be bothered while you're cooking dinner. But you're going to want to bother her while she's cooking dinner. Yeah. You know, and it's going to change that lifestyle. So she needs to be on board because she may be completely satisfied what was before. Yeah. You know, and she needs to know there's going to be a change in me, a desire for her more than I've ever had. Yeah. And so, yeah, guys, if that's your motivation, then freaking do it. You know?
Yeah, but definitely talk to your spouse.
Yeah, because she's going to be like, what's the change? Yeah. Well, you know, I'm 18 again inside, you know? But it's been life-changing for that, and I'm thankful for it. And I believe the biggest thing that saved my life was God, because he wasn't done with me, right? But I had to take steps myself, you know, because I'm the one who put myself into these places. So he's the one that stopped me from doing it. I had to find health where I had to talk to people. I didn't need medicine. I didn't need someone to throw a pill down me to keep me calm. I was like, I've told people, just give me an opportunity to talk. That's all I need. I don't need medicine. And then...
and some people do.
Exactly.
Some people don't.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, but for me, I just need to talk. Yeah. You know, and I'm pretty open with my life. I'll tell you shit you don't want to hear. You know? And I'll tell you shit that's going to surprise you, may scare you. But, and then the magnetic stimulation. Oh my God, I tell Dr. Farrell, unfortunately he moved to Atlanta actually. Interesting. And I was telling him, I said, you saved my life. You know? And then the TRT was just to round it back out. And that's why I'm able now to be an advocate, to step in front of all these other veterans and go, come on, guys, join this party with me. Right. You know, and do we do it with a lot of friggin' dark humor? Because that's the way you would deal with things when shit got bad. Yeah. You don't want to talk about them. You don't want to talk about your buddy who just stepped on a landmine and now has $1 billion prosthetic. You know, you just want to tell him, say, hey, man, you know, at least save money on shoes. You know, socks gone down. You could, you know, they'll last twice as long. Yeah. You just wear one on the other foot. You know, it's that kind of stuff.
Which I think is healthy for everything that we do. Like, it's not like that guy doesn't know that he only has one leg. Right. Yeah. Like, it's not a surprise when you make a comment about his one leg.
Exactly. You know, and that's the thing. And it gets them talking, gets them laughing, because I feel, and I believe the IW feels, as long as I get you laughing, then I get you out of your own head for that moment. Yeah. And it's not just the hike. The hike is just something that gets us together. It's building the community afterwards and keeping people together so they don't go back to isolation. And I'll admit, I'll be the first one. I like to isolate, and I will. You know, I'm in a group chat that keeps me motivated on a daily basis. And the days even I don't want to do it. Yeah. You know, I'm like, God damn it. Now I got to find a meme because I got 6 questions in me. You know, just to throw it back. But I love these guys, and they realize if I'm not talking to them, then they're reaching out privately. Yeah. Like, hey, man, you okay? Yeah. You know, and like, yeah, I'm just going through this right now. They're like, coffee? Yeah. You know, man talk? Yeah.
It's having that support for sure.
100%. And that's what it is. And I believe that, and I could be wrong, man. I mean, but I believe for myself, right? It's worked for me. So it's proven for me. I mean, I'm my own test study. But if for me, if I have the opportunity to not hide in my closet, to get out and get some fresh air, and have general conversation with people that I know that I trust, I'm going to be just fine.
Yeah.
And I'll add a loving wife.
Yeah.
You know, who's the backbone of everything that happens in my life. You know, she thinks she's behind the scenes on everything. She has no idea. I believe she's front and center on everything, man. I'm just like waving behind her shoulder, you know, which I can because she's only 5 foot tall. But,
it's not hard to reach over her.
No, not at all. And she is what we've become as Mars Aviation as a company. Mm-hmm. She is what helped build this culture of IW. I was really saddened actually because I was hoping that they would give her the lead on this upcoming hike. And the IW was like, nah, just you run it again. You know? And it's like, you guys don't really realize all I did was raise money. She ran the fucking hike.
Yeah.
You know, she did all the back paperwork. She did all the documentation. She got all the hotels. She got all the food arranged. She did it all. She actually figured out the route. All I did was raise some money.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But she's like, I don't care. We're a team.
Yeah, that's not why she's doing it.
Right? No, she's doing it as a team, and she wants to see people get healthy too.
Yeah.
You know, she's had her shares of good men and women that should be here that's no longer here. And, you know, and that's the thing. There's for me, and I did it with my group here, there's a company, I'm going to give them a quick shout out, 22 Kill. If you don't know it, look it up. It's a simple black band, right? And what this represents, this black band, is for those that have taken their life.
Okay.
Right? But if you see it, and you're supposed to wear it on your trigger finger, you look down, you see it in your trigger finger, you're still in the fight.
Oh, wow.
You're still in the fight. You're not done.
Yeah.
You know, so they have a great mission. I love it. Been wearing this for the past, oh my God, 4 years now, 3 years now, something like that. And I give them out to everyone. I just go buy a bunch of silicone bands, put them on your fingers, man.
Yeah.
You're still in the fight, you know? And there's so many organizations out there.
Yeah, if you're not aware, 22 is the number, and I don't know what the real number is now.
And actually, yeah. Oh, but first I heard it was 17.5, but 22 sounded better.
Yeah, these are the number of veterans that commit suicide on a daily basis.
And then in January, another study came out and said, no, the government really screwed it up. And the number came as high as 44.
Wow.
That's
insane.
One is too many.
Yeah.
One is too many. And we can't lose, I feel, because it was I like to call it my organization, my military. We can't lose any. We're the greatest asset this country's ever had. You know, it's not like we went and built shit, but yeah, we did. You know, CB's built all kinds of things. But, you know, we kept us from speaking German and Japanese, and, you know, there ain't more terrorist attacks.
Right. Yeah. The fact that we don't treat our military as the highest of our, you know, and
besides educators,
there are dicks that are in the military, just like they're dicks everywhere else.
Trust me,
they're bad military people versus, you know, just like everywhere else. But as a whole, the resources that we provide are not.
Have you ever seen True Detective?
Yeah.
Okay. So my military career was Woody Harrelson. I'm just a regular dude with you know, and that was my whole military career. Nice. I was just a big old dad.
Yeah.
You know, everyone. You know, it's just who I was. It's just part of my DNA, I guess.
Yeah.
And truly, I think because I didn't have God back then, so that was normal.
Yeah.
It was normal to treat someone like a piece of shit because they gave you stripes, man.
Right.
You know. So, but now you look at him and go, God, man, God needs me to help him. You know, whatever way. If it's just a phone call, it's a cup of coffee, a ride across town if they don't have a vehicle. An extra job or, you know, part-time job if you could. It's sad. And I mean, none of these guys are looking for handouts, looking for a hand up once in a while.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with a hand up because I've had plenty of good men and women going, you ain't making it nowhere, are you? Nope.
Yeah.
Let me help you out a little bit.
That's awesome.
You know, but yeah, it's a great thing.
Well, I think that's a good place to kind of land here. What, how do I find, so basically there's an IW in every state or there soon will be?
That's their goal. That's their goal. I think right now we're in 42 states right now.
But there's events that you can go to.
Oh yeah,
all the time.
All the time. From April kicks off hikes all the way down to, I think the last ones are like December. You know, so they do the warm states first, and then they finish with the really hot states. It's like the
custom cutters in wheat.
Yeah, exactly.
The wheat guys start down south and work their way.
Exactly. I sent a guy a picture. I said, no wonder why we don't do hikes in April in Montana.
By the way, we're on. This is March 31st, and it's still snowing.
Yeah,
it snowed this morning.
Yeah, so. Exactly. And irreverentswarriors.com. They've got a great YouTube video, explains it better than anyone else, man. I suggest you even look at it afterwards.
I definitely will.
And
22 Kill, that's a really good organization.
Yep. And Bearded Viking, look them up. Seriously.
That's a podcast.
That's a podcast and company. And I'll get you in touch with JT. You know, maybe
we'll have to have him on.
And but he's a good dude, and there's just plenty of cool things. I mean, Bozeman and Montana has provided me with blessings that I've never expected in my life, man. I mean, and you're one of them. You're in your family. You've treated me like I was part of your family since the day I met you.
Vice versa.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, Marty, I really appreciate your time. I think this is going to be inspirational for a lot of guys, and I just
look at him go. God, Kevin, you were desperate for week 8.
That guy really is a dick.
Yeah, he's desperate this week. Week 8. Ratings went down. Week 9, they went back up.
That's all good. All right, Marty, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, buddy.
Talk to you soon.
You too.
If you're looking to really maximize your life and become the man you were made to be, head over to maxedoutman.com and get your journey started today.